Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Championship Showcase, Secrets for Success, from the playing field of competition to the field of life. We are speaking with inspirational sports leaders, former athletes, coaches, administrators, sports psychologists, and related professionals who are sharing their life strategies and empowering messages of hope and purpose to support those athletes that are seeking to make a successful career transition from the playing field of competition to the field of life. My name is Dominic Militello, and we're so glad you could join us today. We're fortunate to have another incredible and talented guest with us today, so let's jump right in. Today we're speaking with the fascinating Coach John Scott. John is the founder and CEO of Sport America, a sports education company with several divisions in the field of sports, including College Coaches Connection, Athletic Quest College Recruiting, and the Basketball Doctor. John is a former two-time All-State high school basketball player from Boston, Massachusetts, as well as former college and professional basketball player. He has been a high school coach, a college coach, and a professional basketball coach as a player development coach with the Milwaukee Bucks of the NBA. Coach Scott is known worldwide as the Basketball Doctor, the Free Throw Doctor, and has produced more books, videos, and DVDs on basketball than any coach in history, over 60, including licensed products for Converse, Rawlings, and Baden Sports. John has written 2 college textbooks on basketball, Step-by-Step Fundamentals for the Player and Coach, Prentice Hall, and the basketball book, Simon & Schuster Publishing. Coach Scott has sent more than 200 basketball players to the next level in the college ranks that he has personally trained over the past 3 decades. He has served as the National Basketball Clinic Director for Converse Shoe Company, has conducted hundreds of basketball clinics on 5 continents worldwide. Coach Scott has also produced more books, videos, and articles on college recruiting than any coach in history and is considered the leading expert in college recruiting in the United States. He has appeared on numerous radio shows as one of the leading experts in college recruiting worldwide, including ESPN, K-Talk, The Sports Zone, and WFAN in New York, the country's largest sports radio station. You can see why we're very fortunate to have Coach John Scott with us. John, welcome to the Championship Showcase.
Dominic, glad to be here with you. Thanks for the invitation.
Well, we know you're very busy, and we appreciate your time. For those that may not know or be as familiar with you as we are, Coach, tell us a little bit about your upbringing and maybe your background.
Well, I think a lot stems from how I was raised with my parents. Obviously, you mentioned I grew up in Boston, and as a sophomore in high school, I played my first varsity game on the parquet floor in Boston Garden, so that was a thrill.
Wow.
My dad was a Division I athlete. He played football and ran track at the University of Richmond. Came back from fighting in Korea, almost went to the Olympics. He missed out by about 6 inches and only had been able to train for 10 days.
Wow.
And my mom is right off the boat from Norway, came over after World War II. She lived under Hitler's occupation during the war, saw a lot of horrific things, and they both have, I think, instilled in their children, including me as the black sheep, I think good work ethic. And my mom always said readers are leaders, so I've always been a big fan of doing a lot of homework on anything that I get involved in.
Well, great. Well, tell us a little bit about why sports were important for you growing up and what drove you to be such an elite level.
Well, quite honestly, we moved several times. When I was about the age of 10 or 11, we moved to California for a year and a half, back to Virginia, and then we moved up to Boston. And I became really pretty shy, introverted. I was a new kid. I dressed funny. I probably talked a little bit funny. People say I still do those things now, but that really made me kind of introverted, and basketball became my outlet. It was something I could do by myself and work at, and I could feel the progressions. And so that, for me, is where it all started. And then by the time I got to be a junior in high school, I was an all-state player, and then started getting attention from colleges, and it just grew from there.
Tell us about some of the coaches you had growing up, the lessons they taught you, or the messages that you took from some of your top coaches.
Well, I'm a big believer that with every failure there is a lesson. and if you don't learn the lesson, then you remain a failure. So I think I was fortunate. I had some high school coaches, from my JV coach to my varsity coach, who really cared in different ways. My JV coach was a very intelligent man, Arthur Podaris. Taught me how to shoot basketball, taught me how to think the game. I had a high school coach, varsity coach, Ed James, that I loved dearly, that was in the Army and was, never married. He was a pretty hardcore type of coach, you can imagine, right?
Yeah.
And, but I think I learned some things from him that were really beneficial. The time that he devoted and committed to us as athletes. But I also learned some things that maybe as a coach I didn't want to emulate, because he was old school. You ask, you say jump, and the athlete asks how high. I think he was kind of that old school mode. That's not his fault by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just how coaches were raised in a different generation. And so I learned some things that I didn't want to integrate into how I coached as well, because I remember it put a lot of pressure on me as a player, and I was his best player, quite honestly, as a league MVP. But it's still, I don't think I performed at my best because I was always looking over my shoulder,
Yeah. Well, what helped you get to that next level then, from high school to the college ranks and even to the professional level?
Well, I guess the short answer is I was willing to fail more than most people are willing to fail, and I just kept going. But I had some colleges get interested in me. I kind of took the route of going to junior college, and then I played at Ricks College and a school called College of the Canyons in California. And then I went up to the University of Maine, and then from there I went overseas. And even playing professionally, I was 6'4", 6'5". I was what they call a tweener in basketball. So they thought I was too big to be a point guard and too small to be a forward. And I actually played point guard and small forward and shooting guard in the pros. I played all positions overseas. Averaged about 31 a game in one country and 25 a game in another, with 10 assists. So, my first experience going overseas was I actually got an invitation to try out because they weren't sure what they were getting. So I sold everything I had, my Chevy Blazer, my toaster. I sold everything to get a plane ticket. And started out in South America and ended up making a team down there, doing really well. Got credentials that moved me over to New Zealand and Australia, Australia's like a Division I level. It's like Italy or Spain competition-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And then that got me tryouts with a couple teams in the NBA. I just built my credentials and kept working at it.
So you sound like you sold out to pursue your dream. I mean, that takes a certain mindset and a certain individual to be willing to do that. You mentioned willing to fail a minute ago. Tell us a little bit more about those experiences of, kind of coming into yourself and just saying, listen, I'm going to do whatever it takes to pursue my dream and achieve my dream.
I think I had that mindset early on. I remember being in high school, and I don't know why I did this, but I remember as a sophomore drawing on an 8.5 and 11 by sheet of paper. On the top, I wrote my goal, play pro basketball, and I kind of built this roadmap with alternative routes to get there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so, of course, the first way was to go from high school to Division I, get drafted, and boom, you're there. But really interesting, I said, okay, if I don't go to Division I, I'll go to junior college, then I'll try to go that route. If I don't get drafted, then I'll go overseas, build credentials, and then try to come through the back way. And literally, I had that roadmap in my head. I think I made the determination that I was going to do everything I could to make this happen, and I was going to put in the time it took, and I was going to get there one way or the other. So I just kind of followed the roadmap. Having goals and roadmaps are really big if you'll put gas in the tank all along the way to make your your dreams come true. And the gas in the tank is you got to do what I term an hour of power every day, which is you got to put in, a couple hours, an hour to 2 hours more minimum outside of team practice. Because if you only put in the same amount of time as everybody else on your team, you're progressing at the same pace logically, correct?
Correct.
Now think about if you and I were standing on a line and we both took one step forward, and then on the same day, you took a second step forward. On day 2, we both take one more step forward. You're already a step ahead. On day 2, you take a second step forward. You're now 2 steps ahead after 2 days. That's called separation. And I think I lived by that principle to get to where I was going and try to do that same thing in business.
Terrific principle to live by. As athletes, we tend to push ourselves to the limits, and sometimes when we come up against an obstacle or something that says maybe we ought to do something different, what pushed you through those times?
I think the things that my mom taught me, I can remember growing up, and she came right off the boat from Norway. She only had a GED. She felt she was probably a second-class citizen, but she was determined that was not going to be how we felt. And I can remember her saying things to me all the time, better to shoot for the stars and miss than aim for the gutter and hit. And, just so many different, quotes. Faith is fighting through your fear, not fighting with your fear. And when you feel you can't go on, take one more step. And I mean, I can remember all the time her saying, heights by great men reached and kept were not obtained by sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, toiled on and upward through the night. And Longfellow wrote that, but she, for whatever reason, she said it to me all the time, so I internalized it. And when I started into business, there were a lot of late nights. And when I was training as an athlete, if I hadn't gotten my whole workout in, it could be 11, 12, midnight, or 1 in the morning if I come back from a trip or a date or anything. If I hadn't got it in, man, that stupid saying would go through my head, and off I'd go and get the workout in.
Nice. Commitment and dedication, it sounds like.
Yeah, I had a good teacher, and, as I've gotten older, when I put in late nights on the business, I would call her at 1 or 2 in the morning and say, heights by great men reaching, that is. She goes, nice. You could have called me in the morning. I said, no. You put this in my head. You got
Good stuff. Great stuff. Well, tell us about some of your most memorable experiences at the elite level of competition. What comes to mind when you think about some of your most memorable moments?
Oh, everybody's got things that they accomplished, and I think, to me, the most satisfying things are the obstacles you overcome and how you learn to deal with it. And to me, those are the real valuable trophies. The accolades are great, but to me, the real value is what did you learn that is a foundation for your life. And I remember going to South America, playing my first pro game. I scored 36 points. My second game, I scored 17, but I had 11 assists. I thought I played a better game. The owner of the pro team came to me and said, Gringo, you American, shoot ball. And to be honest, it terrified me because, you fully understand, Dominic, having played pro soccer, what the guy was telling me, right?
Right.
Shoot, I wasn't going to be there. And I was used to being, overall a very team-oriented player, but I had to develop a very aggressive mentality when I got the ball in my hands. And so I came up with a couple of philosophies that I've evolved into my basketball doctor training that kids use now. And one of them is a system that I use called counting points. And so I knew he wanted me to score. I set a goal. I had to score 25 a game minimum, so my goal was to get there as quick as I could. And I didn't want to be a ball hog, so I developed a system of what I call hustle points. And great principles involved. Do you sprint ahead of the ball in the fast break, or you push the ball dribbling on the fast break to create a fast break? Those are easy baskets. So if you could get 6 or 8 points a game doing that, now I only had to score about 17 points. That's mandatory.
Right.
Then I also recognized the rebounding rule in basketball. On defense, you box out, but the real objective is to get possession. So I've always taught that the rebounding rule when you're on offense is get position to get possession. So I thought if I could get 2 or 3 offensive rebounds a game and put them back in, now I only need to score 11 points a game, so it got easier. So through adversity, I was able to develop concepts, philosophies that helped me to play better, play harder. And I also had to learn how to overcome my insecurities or introverted habits or fear of failing. I think, you've been a pro athlete. All athletes have that at some point, right?
Sure.
So it's really when I started to play pro ball that I started to, in the mornings, read affirmations in a mirror every day. I score 25 points a game. I'm kind to everybody. I average 10 assists a game. Things that I, started to believe as I reaffirm those, and I do visualization at night. So, I could talk about I scored these amount of points, I did this, I did that, but to me the great lessons were those principles that helped me to forget about counting points helped me to forget about if I made a shot or missed a shot. I don't worry about it anymore. So the ball got tipped up, we're running down the court, I get a fast break layup, there's 2. Come down a couple more trips down the floor, hit a 3-point shot, I'm at 5. I got to get to 25 as quick as I can. So I may have missed 2 shots in between, but I don't care anymore because I got to get to 25.
Right.
So for me, I called it focus pocus because I was focusing on the right things.
Fascinating. Great stuff. Well, yeah, well, mindsets are, very, very important. Let me transition just a little bit, John, to where you were at mentally when you realized that maybe earning a living as an athlete was not in the cards or was not in the cards long term. Tell us what was going on mentally for you and how maybe you handled that initial when that thought started coming in that, okay, maybe I can't do this for a living.
Well, 2 things about that. I could have kept going back overseas for probably another 5 or 6 years. I could have kept doing it for a living. But as far as what my goal was, my goal was to get to the NBA. I had a couple tryouts as a free agent with the Knicks and the Cavaliers. And I remember the last time I got cut, I was 29 years old. Now, you still got more gas in the tank if you're 6'11" at that age in the NBA, but not at my size, right?
Right.
And I remember I got cut from what was then the NBDL, the National Basketball Development League, on Thanksgiving Day. I still remember that. So that was kind of a double whammy, right?
Right.
But not to change the tone from sports, but I never felt disappointed. I never felt the pain. I think that I probably should have known it was over, because I remember going to my hotel room to check out, dropping down to my knees and just thanking God for the opportunity all these years to even get to that point from the start of when I was a young, shy, introverted kid that dressed funny and talked funny and didn't fit in with anybody. So I blossomed and came a long ways. So I was grateful for that. And I think the other thing is I never felt the pain because I think he took that from me.
Wow.
It just was a realization that I had done everything I could do. I did not look back and have any regrets. In fact, I remember I don't personally drink alcohol or smoke. I don't have any objection to people that do, but for me, I didn't think it mixed, and I had a couple friends die from drunk driving, and I just made the determination I wasn't going to do it. But I remember the 6 months leading up to that tryout, I was running mountains to get ready for conditioning. I wasn't drinking soft drinks. I wasn't eating any sweets. And I remember getting cut, going across the street to a Dunkin', getting a dozen donuts and a big soft drink, and I got through about 3 donuts and half a drink, and I was puking because my body was totally not used to that.
Right.
Now I'm well acclimated to donuts, I can tell you.
You're listening to the Championship Showcase, Secrets for Success, from the playing field of competition to the field of life. We're speaking with Coach John Scott. John, talk to us about having a support team around you, either while you're coming up through the ranks as an athlete and or transitioning out of it. How important is it to have people around you that you trust and you can confide in?
You know, it's everything. I played on over 20 teams, and I always dreamed of playing on a team where they all believed in each other, they all got along, they all picked each other up. I don't think I ever played on that team, Dominic. You played on a lot of teams. I don't know if you ever got to that point. That to me would have been utopia. And so as a business owner, I can create that team. If I make it part of the culture, I can make it where you try to treat people right, you believe in each other, and so now we try to do that. And to me, in life, it's always not been about me go, but about we go.
Right.
And so, you know, I try to do my best to make a team, that environment, pick guys up, be positive, don't worry about it, make the next shot. But people have options, and because I think I took the positive road, I think I enjoyed the experience more. And you know, in a business setting, to me, it's tremendously important to have that kind of environment. If you have somebody that doesn't fall into that category, I heard a great business philosophy, which was hire slowly, fire quickly.
Right. Makes a lot of sense. Well, you talked about the mindset and the support group. Tell us a little bit more about what you have going on now with Sport America.
Well, I started Sport America in 1990. We're a sports education company. That's our core values. And we, in the process, have built the largest library of workout DVDs or videos for athletes in the world. We've got a couple hundred titles. And we kind of created the workout market for sports, not for fitness. We took a page from fitness, but the traditional sports market in instructional videos was basic instruction. Here's how you dribble, kick, shoot, hit, etc. There was highlights and bloopers, and there was X's and O's or plays and strategies for coaches. What we did is we went out with a simple concept and created a workout marketplace that a lot of people have now emulated, and we were first in the field to do that. And so the concept was, okay, we're going to teach basic fundamentals, but now we're going to tie advanced techniques, footwork, choreography, and fundamentals into what you do, advanced skills. We're going to set up how many repetitions you do in a set, how many sets you do in a day, what your rest period is, and build it into a complete workout. And it was highly successful. The whole marketplace started to get saturated really in about 2003, 2004 because of the advent of YouTube. You know, anybody thinks they can teach something, and people think they can get great knowledge for free, which they don't. They learn how to dribble 500 times, and they don't understand in basketball dribbling is not a threat. Shooting is a threat.
Right.
Driving is a threat. Passing is a threat, but dribbling itself is not a threat. And so, you know, because our core values were sports education, we evolved into the college recruiting market by accident initially, because we had recruiting services coming to us and asking to market our products, our workout videos, and they wanted us to market their product. But I'd been a college coach twice. I had people on my staff that had played and coached in college, and the more we looked at it, the more we really felt that a lot of the recruiting services out there were just scams. Didn't like what they were doing. We tried to create a very economical product where for, you know, $25 a month you could go through all the essential preparation steps, marketing steps, evaluation steps, and separation steps of recruiting. Separation is like the one-step, two-step we talked about earlier. How do you do that when you're, you know, in front of college coaches? How do you separate yourself from the other 10 or 15 athletes a college coach will recruit from your position? So
right.
We were actually the first to create a kind of a do-it-yourself tool in the recruiting marketplace. We've had a few companies emulate us at this point. And what we've also done is we've built a classroom program for high schools and junior colleges where they can teach the steps and the tools and the processes for college recruiting to their athletes. We've had tremendous success with it. We're in 5 states now. We've had 70% of our senior athletes go on and play in college. They're averaging over $80,000 in funding. 90% of them have raised their cumulative grade point averages in one semester. And so that's, what we're doing now. We're educating athletes, parents, coaches on the process so that they fully understand what's got to be done.
It's wonderful. Great stuff, John. Wonderful stuff. Talk about how what you're doing in the business might translate and help those athletes that are in the transition phase, either about to go into it or maybe struggling with the transition of going from the field or the playing field into the real world. How would you coach or manage or talk to somebody who's in that phase right now?
Well, one of the talks I give, I talk at athletic director conferences and sports banquets all over the country and in state associations for coaches. And one of the talks that I give is 5 lessons that sports has taught me about life. And I think there's some very simple principles. I talked about an hour of power. Show up to work 15 minutes early, stay 15 minutes late, ask the boss before you leave, what else can I do to help? That's your hour of power in the workforce. Not accepting rejection. When adversity hits in life, this is rule number 2, you have really one of 4 options when adversity hits. You can give in, you can give up, you can give out, or you can give more. And there's really only one great option in that process. I think, even you would agree with that, knowing the levels that you played at and you had to overcome.
Sure.
Obstacles as well. Rule number 5 is be kind to everybody. One thing that my mother and father taught me that I genuinely appreciate is to always treat the least important person in the room to society like they are the most important person in the room to society. And I saw them do that in how they lived and how they taught us and how they interacted with people. And so, there's a lot of great lessons that sports provides for us and gives to us if we will just look at it instead of focusing on, woe is me, I don't get to play anymore. Focusing on the blessings you had and the opportunities and what a great benefit that truly was.
Great stuff. Excellent. We're just about out of time, John, but what do you see your role as a leader in the community, in the business world, and what is your legacy that you want to leave for others?
We try to touch lives and change lives. And, I had a lady call in yesterday. She wanted free information, and I said, I'll be glad to visit with you, but I'll tell you what, no information in the world is free. Whatever you learn in life, the lessons that you go through, you pay a price for. But I'll be glad to share with you the lessons that I learned and the price that I pay to try to help you. If you're wise enough to follow it, then that'll be a benefit. And I just think, as we go through life, the most important thing is being able to be positive toward other people. You can feel really good about yourself when you're helping other people. And there's an old saying that if you help enough people in life get what they want, or you can be of help to them, then inevitably they will be of help to you and helping you get what you want. And my grandfather, taught me that it only takes one candle to light up the room. So candle.
Great stuff. Well, everyone, we certainly hope you've enjoyed our conversation with the incredible John Scott. I know I have. You've been listening to the Championship Showcase, Secrets for Success from the Playing Field of Competition to the Field of Life. Coach, any last thoughts before we sign off officially?
Sure. I'll leave you with a thought that I share with everybody when I end a public speaking talk that I do. And it's very simple. It's this. In life, when effort stops, excuses start. When excuses stop, effort stops. Let me repeat that. When effort stops, excuses start. When excuses stop, effort stops. Just wish everybody the best of luck in whatever they do.
Nice. Hour of Power, give more, be kind, be grateful. We've been listening to the Championship Showcase with Coach John Scott. John, we want to thank you for joining us, and we encourage those of you who feel you might need some assistance through your career transition, please reach out and get the necessary help you need. You have purpose and you have value. For now, we wish you all the best. For Coach Scott, this is Dominic Militello. We'll talk to you soon.